Welcome back to Athletic Alert. I'm Rob. These are my pals Colin and Jesse. Join me again with our producer Brett behind the camera. And let's jump into the MLB news with Athletic Alert. Last night, Rihanna had a lot of influence over what was going on. She said, "Turn off the lights in here," and the lights went out in Nationals ballpark last night. There 3 times on the right third base side, the lights went out and they had to suspend play. I think this is the first time ever they had to do that, and they have to continue it today. The Dodgers and Nationals have to continue in the top of the 6th inning with the Dodgers up to bat with 0 outs, and they have to play 2 games today. The first game is 2:05 p.m. Eastern, and the next game is 4:05 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
All right, so my Athletic Alert, we are jumping in with Chris Carter, the first baseman and DH of the Houston Astros, spraining his ankle in yesterday's game. It's really tough. Another setback for the Astros with George Springer going down, and Carlos Correa, which we will get to later in the show, is super cold right now. It's really going to be tough for the Astros to even think about making the playoffs this year if they keep running into walls like this. Jesse, what do you got?
All right, let's move on to Mike Trout. For those of you that watched the All-Star game, you saw Mike Trout hit the leadoff homer and get another MVP. That makes it 2 straight MVPs in the All-Star game for him, and the first in the history of the MLB to do it. So congratulations to Mike Trout. And the AL wins 6-3 in the game, so they get the home field advantage in the World Series Game 7. So let's move on to Truth or Trash. Let's jump right into our first statement, and this is going to be about the All-Star break, the Home Run Derby. The new Home Run Derby format is an overall improvement from previous years. And there's a lot of debate over this. We're going to talk about it right now. Rob, what do you think about that statement?
I'm going to have to go with trash, so get that out of here. I have to disagree completely because I felt like it gave the players an unfair advantage. Last year's format, 10 outs, it made it harder for the players to hit home runs, and there was no time limit, there were no brackets. So I felt like there was less pressure last year with the brackets, but there was more pressure to hit as many home runs with the limit of outs. This year, there were no outs, and there was a time limit. So all they can do is just keep on swinging, and then get as many home runs as they possibly could. I don't think that was the right way to go. I think you're more talented by having a set goal with the outs. So you have to get more home runs than outs. Colin, what do you have to say about that?
Oh, I hear what you're saying, but I think it's the truth. The new Home Run Derby format this year, I think it made it faster. It was faster paced. I think the people who are watching it made it a little bit more exciting for them. You get guys up at the plate for 4 or 5 minutes just taking hacks, and it's kind of interesting to see the strategy they used with the timeouts that they had and like when to use it. I thought it was like a little bit of a change, and it was totally new, and nobody really saw that coming. But I think overall, I think it's an improvement. I never used to like watching it and seeing guys take 8 or 10 pitches, and it would just take forever. So overall, I think it's an improvement. I think some adjustments need to be made, but I think it's a step in the right direction. Jesse?
All right, I agree with both of you here, but overall, I'm going to have to say this is trash. And this is because I'd rather a fair home run derby than something that the crowd wants to see, because I want to see who the real home run derby champ is. With a time limit, everybody's swinging for the fences every pitch. They're not taking pitches. It's not set. It's not based totally on skill.
There's no strategy.
There's no strategy involved. And I think when there's outs, you're hitting the right pitches, and also the bonus with the 425 feet. That doesn't show how good of a home run hitter you are. That just shows how far you can hit the ball. So I agree with that. It's a step in the right direction because it's a lot easier for the fans to see, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, it's not as fair to the players. It's not a true showing of who's the best home run hitter.
And in the game of baseball, they have to deal with 3 outs, and that's the side of the inning. There's no outs in the home run derby, so I don't think that makes any sense. But let's move on to our next topic. The next statement is, the Cowboys signing wide receiver Dez Bryant to a contract extension was the right move for the franchise. Colin, truth or trash?
Oh, I think it's truth. I'm going truth again. With the NFL, with the Cowboys, they needed to sign Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant is now their franchise player, and I believe once the season ended, the Cowboys had a choice. It's either we're going to lock up DeMarco Murray or we're locking up Dez Bryant. So they had a choice of who's their franchise player. DeMarco Murray was a little bit of an injury risk, but they did see what he could become. I would have liked to see DeMarco Murray stay on the Cowboys rather than Dez Bryant. But since they let DeMarco Murray sign with the Eagles, this is the only guy they had. They picked this guy. They had to go after him. If they didn't get him and he moved to a different team, now the Cowboys, they're toast. They have no real franchise player other than Tony Romo.
Yeah.
So they needed him, and I'm glad they got him. Jesse?
All right, I'm gonna agree with you. This is truth to me, and I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, Dez Bryant, obviously their franchise player. After getting rid of DeMarco Murray, you can't really afford to lose a guy like Dez Bryant. They need him. They have to have him on their team. They've had him on their team for years, and he's always been great. I just don't think the Cowboys, if they want to be a contender, they definitely cannot let go of Dez Bryant, who's been their best player for years. That's pretty much it. I think it's an obvious truth.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with both of you, but I'm going to have to go with trash. I know Dez Bryant is a franchise player. He's the best wide receiver that the Cowboys have. But does anybody remember the problems he gave the franchise over the past couple years? The off the field and on the field attitude with Romo and Jerry Jones. So what's going on? I mean, I feel like they were forced into signing him. Yes, they need a wide receiver. They signed him over DeMarco Murray, which was a good point you made. I like that point. But I feel like, I mean, he said he wouldn't have played if he didn't get an extension. But I feel like they were pressured into doing this, and maybe they could have gotten maybe a trade value for him because he has a lot of talent, but I feel like he causes too much off the field and on the field problems with the Cowboys, and it's a distraction because they haven't won anything, and Tony Romo is a decent quarterback.
Yes, but the question is it worth having a star wide receiver and having a little bit of team problems rather than getting rid of their franchise player?
Well, I think that Tony Romo has a little bit of an issue with him, and I think it might affect their playoff chances going forward. Next, Colin, introduce our next Truth or Trash statement.
All right, our final Truth or Trash statement, we're jumping right into the NHL for some hockey Truth or Trash, is the addition of veteran players to the Dallas Stars that will push them into the playoffs this upcoming season. If you haven't heard, the Dallas Stars have acquired some big names this offseason, including Patrick Sharp from the Chicago Blackhawks, along with his former teammate Johnny Oduya from the Chicago Blackhawks. They're a little older, both over the age of 30, and they're veteran players who have Patrick Sharp winning 3 Stanley Cups for the Blackhawks, and Johnny Oduya winning 2 Stanley Cups for the Blackhawks. So they're clearly veteran players. Rob, what do you think?
I'm going to have to say that's truth. I think that it helps their team a lot. They were not a playoff team last year. They needed to upgrade their defense with Oduya, and they needed a veteran player to help teach the young guys how things go. I like the accusation of Patrick Sharp. You know, he won 3 cups with the Blackhawks. He's a winger. He knows how to play offense. They need a scorer on their team. I kind of relate him to a Jaromir Jagr on the Devils when he was with the Devils. Got Marty Brodeur bobblehead right here. Devil's pride. But anyway, Jaromir Jagr, he was that veteran guy who helped try to teach the younger guys on the Devils how things go. I see Patrick Sharp being a better scorer than Jagr. Obviously, he's a lot younger. He's not 40 years old. He's 33, I believe. And I see him being he can help the Sharks be a great contender. Colin, what's your opinion?
I think it's truth too, Rob. The Dallas Stars they went out, they got these veteran players. They deserve a lot of credit for that. And I do think, though, that their defense and goaltending is what's going to decide whether they make it to the playoffs or not, because they're really thin at those positions. But they've done a good job at keeping their offense at such a high level to kind of offset that. I mean, it's going to be amazing this season for fans, Dallas Stars fans all over, to see Tyler Seguin and Patrick Sharp on the same team scoring goals. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's going to get crazy over there.
And we should also point out that the Western Conference is a lot tougher than the Eastern Conference in hockey because you got the Blackhawks, you got the a lot of other teams that are hot. We looked at the standings before we went on the show. They had 92 points. That would get you a very high spot in the Eastern Conference. They didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So I feel like having those two names together, putting up a lot more points, they can get into playoffs. Do you agree?
Yeah, oh yeah, I would definitely agree. And you got two guys who have won multiple Stanley Cups now that you just signed on your team. They can take all of those younger players and they can get them into that mindset like we're going to win a Stanley Cup this year.
Especially guys who have already won. They know how to do it, they know the feeling, and it's a lot easier to get it done when you already won it.
Yeah.
Like Tim Duncan,
Right.
Yeah. All right.
So it's an overall truth. We are going to now switch into ThermoStats with the impact of MLB rookies this season has been tremendous. Rookies are everywhere, and some are hot and some are cold. We're going to tell you in this upcoming segment of ThermoStats Rookie Edition.
Welcome to ThermoStats Rookie Edition. We're going to jump right into it with Chichi Gonzalez. He's had a great start, and now he's one of the coldest pitchers in the league. He is the starting pitcher for the Texas Rangers, and he is at -6 degrees right now. He has 4 or less strikeouts in every game this season, and has not yet had a game without allowing a walk. Last game, he went 1.2 innings and allowed 6 earned runs. He has allowed at least 1 homer in 3 of his last 4 games, and he has an 0-4 record in his last 5 games. Like I said, after a great start, he is not getting it done for Texas. Now we're going to jump to a very hot rookie pitcher, Andrew Heaney, at 98 degrees, the starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Angels. In his last 4 starts, which is actually his full season because he got called up later this year, he is 3-0 and has pitched over 6 innings in each game. 2 or less earned runs allowed in every start, each of the 4, and has 5 or more strikeouts in each game with 4 walks in 4 games, a great strikeout to walk ratio. He has a great 1.32 ERA and a .84 whip to start his season. Now let's go to Rob.
Thanks, Jesse. My 2 guys are Miguel Sano, third baseman of the Minnesota Twins, and Chris Bryant, third baseman of the Chicago Cubs. Let's go out to Minnesota first, where it's a nice, breezy 62 degrees. Miguel Sano, he's been hitting .304 his last 7 games. He has 1 home run, 4 runs scored, and 6 runs batted in. He's only been in the league for a month, a little less actually, and he has shown to be a franchise player to the Minnesota Twins ownership. So let's go out to Chicago, where Chris Bryant and the Cubs are playing at a cool, very cold 21 degrees. Chris Bryant's been hitting .166 in his last 7 games. He has no home runs, 2 runs batted in, and 3 runs scored. You do not want to have him on your fantasy team right now, Jesse. But anyway, let's go out to Colin and see what he has to say.
Thanks, Rob. My 2 rookies are James McCann, a catcher for the Detroit Tigers, and Carlos Correa, a shortstop for the Houston Astros. We're going to start off with the cold Carlos Correa out in Houston, only 15 degrees. In his last 7 games, Carlos Correa has only collected 4 hits, 0 homers, 1 ribby, and is hitting a .45, well below the Mendoza line. It's tough. It's tough for Carlos Correa right now, some tough goings, and they need him. The Astros need him. With all the injuries they have, and in a tight division in the AL West, the Astros need him to get going and get hot quick. But now, we're going to move to Detroit, where it is a cool, sort of warm, 74-degree day. McCann, in his last 7 games, has 12 hits, a homer, 6 ribbies, and is batting an amazing .429 average. This is great news for the Detroit Tigers after hearing about the awful injury to Miguel Cabrera, and they really needed people like him to step up. Not only is he great offensively, but defensively as well. James McCann could be finding something here towards the beginning of the second half of the MLB season.
Before we finish, this is our question of the week. Who is the face of the MLB? You can comment your answers down below.
And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AthleticAlert.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video. We really appreciate it. And And that's our show.
Sound the alarm.